Good morning. Okay, so I wanted to come on here and talk about narcissistic parents and financial abuse because it's crazy when you are raised in a home with a parent who just literally feels like they are entitled and they suck the resource out of you before you right before you can even learn how to really become an adult and you know what I mean, like learn about credit and learn about how to manage your finances. Um, I've talked about in the in my past videos about me going no contact with um, my narcissistic mom. It's been 6 years since I've seen my mom, and it's been about maybe like I think maybe 8 months since I've been no contact. But I want to talk about the financial abuse that I've experienced because um, this is something that's not really brought up a lot. Financial abuse in general is starting to become, a thing that people are talking about, which I'm happy about. But you have parents who really feel like they are super entitled to any resources before you can even use your credit. Because I've heard people talk about how parents would take out who would open credit cards in their kids' names before they can even old enough to even obtain their credit. My mom never did anything in regards to my credit, but I remember when I first enrolled into college, my mom would literally take my book money. She would take my tab money. When tax season came around, she would take all of my tax money that I got because I was a full-time college student and I was working part-time at Macy's. So I wasn't really making a lot of money. I was making enough money for me to get to and from work, um, you know, maintain myself from work, to get to and from work and to get to and from school and classes. And it was extremely draining because as a 18, 19, 20 year old, like I mean I've always worked since I was in high school. Um, but it was extremely draining because it honestly felt like I was going to school to give her money, and if I didn't give her money, she would threaten to kick me out the house. She would use me living with her as a way to kind of like manipulate me, because one thing about parents who are narcissistic, when you get older the abuse gets worse. And it gets worse when you get older because you are becoming independent, especially when you really, really start working because you are able to financially provide for yourself. So that means you have room to leave. And I think that my mom was extremely threatened of the fact as soon as I got older that I was able to kind of like, especially when I got into my early 20s, that I was able to like move around how I wanted to. I was never a disrespectful daughter. I was literally working, going to school and come home, working, going to school and come home. I was, hanging out as a 21 year old, going out with friends here and there. When you're young, you want to, have fun here and there. But I was always, I was never a wild person. Um, but I noticed that as I got older, the abuse it just got worse. The gaslighting. Every time tax season came around, she made sure that I was the first thing that came out of her mouth was, "Well, how much you giving me?" Um, you know, and if I didn't give her these certain amounts, it would she would find a way to manipulate me, gaslight me, or even try and kick me out the house because she wanted me to give her money that she felt like she was entitled to. Um, I was never really taught how to save. My mom, the first time I ever opened up a bank account, I went on my opened up a bank account. I went on my own. My mom never taught me the importance of credit. Anything that amounted to money, she took from me. And now that I'm 30, I realize that I do have a lot of trauma circulating around finances and money, and I'm connecting the dots on where it comes from because now that I'm free and I've been free, I realized that there is a trauma that is associated to money, and there is a such thing as money trauma. I mean, those who grew up in poverty, who weren't really, wealthy, when it comes down to money, tra- from those experiences, you can have trauma with associated with money. Um, Another form of manipulation that she did, when I finally had the courage to leave her, like I literally left home and just I left everything and I stayed with my sister. My mom did not want to take my name off the lease because she would tell me, I don't want to take your name off the lease because, if something happens to me, I want you to have the apartment. And, back then I was still very gullible and I'm like, okay, then maybe, you always still have hope, when it's your parents. And I'm like, okay, yeah. But then she flipped the script, but you still got to give me money though. If your name is still on my lease, you got to give me money per week. And this is when I told her I did not want to live. I left the house. I was no longer living with her anymore. And the people pleaser that I was at the time, y'all, I was still giving my mom money every week, even after I left her house for the abuse. And then I had to stop and think like, no, I can't. This lady is still, she's still taking resources from me. She's still manipulating me. And the moment I told her I was no longer giving her any money, when I mean she took my name off the lease so fast, because that was still a way for her to manipulate me, and try to control me. Because my mom always knew that I was a people pleaser. She always knew that as a kid, you love your parents, and I trusted my mom a lot. Um, you know, I grew up as the only child. Me and my siblings, we all didn't grow up together, but I grew up as the only child. So my mom was like the only, she was somebody that I trusted, and she knew that. But the moment I told her that um, I wasn't giving her any money, she took my name off the lease. And I finally took my power back. And then I finally realized this lady, this woman was still, you know, um, manipulating me. She was still financially abusing me, even after I left her house. Um, but it's really sad that you have parents out here, because I know I'm not the only one who experienced this. I've been seeing a lot of people talk about the financial abuse that they have with their parents. I've heard people talk about how, growing up with siblings, how the oldest daughter or middle daughter or, are usually the ones taking care of their siblings, and, being the second parent in the home, and, having to take on those responsibilities. And a lot of these parents wonder why, when they get older, that nobody wants to be around them. They sit back and they wonder like, wow, I'm by myself. And they wonder why. And it's like, yeah, because you done manipulated and mind f everybody around you. Nobody wants to be around you anymore. And I'm glad that there are people, telling their stories. Um I was watching a video on YouTube before I post, talking about this. This is what made me really want to jump on here, because I'm thinking like, yes, this has happened to me. Like, I've experienced financial abuse. My mom was my first bully, so verbal, financial, emotional, those type of abuse I experienced from her first, because she was my first bully. And financial abuse was one of her key ways of really manipulating me. Once I graduated high school, and now at 30, I'm even though I'm still in the healing process and reprogramming, I feel so grateful and blessed to you know that I was able to get out of the situation. Um, Even as I sit here laying down in my bed in my apartment by myself, I'm like, it feels so good to be in my own space, to be able to wake up and be in peace and solitude. Because I remember there were days where I would wake up when I was a kid, a teenager, a young adult, where I didn't even want to face the day. Like, that's how traumatic it was. I didn't even want to get up and face the day. I would wake up and just be like disappointed, like, why this can't be it. But the fact that I'm was able to create a safe space for myself, I'm just I'm just truly, truly grateful um, that I'm able to that I was able to and able to get my power back and regain my life. But yeah, I just wanted to get on here and talk about that. Sorry for the random early morning rant, but I just wanted to share that story with y'all.